It's kind of a repetitive process, but it will save you lots of money when your motor doesn't bend valves and blow things apart. And take my word for it. I've done it multiple times.
Emphasis on multiple.
Hey everybody, this is Jeremiah at Re-Racing. We're back for another video. In the last video you saw us put the cam and a few other things in. We got the cam in time. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll leave a link up in the corner up here, as well as a link to the other two videos that are part of this series. And in this video we're going to do what they call clay the motor. After we get on claying the motor, if everything checks out, we'll bolt the new heads on with new head gaskets, new head bolts, and then drop the lifters in and put the rockers on. And then we'll probably pick up there in the next video where we're setting the valve lash and all the rockers, installing the intake, and going from there, all the bolt-ons, dropping the distributor and stuff like that. So if you guys learn anything from this video, which you should learn a lot if you stick around through the whole thing, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, give it a thumbs up. I have a goal this year to, by December 31st, or midnight on December 31st, to hit 500 subscribers. Last I checked, I was currently at 119 or 120, so still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. So help me get to that goal and hit that subscribe button down below, and with that we'll get started. So now we're going to do what they call clay in the motor. Basically just stick that over the ports, put one on each side. And we're just going to see how close the valves actually come down to the pistons. We want to make sure we got enough clearance there. So we have an old head gasket. We're going to put that on there first. Bolt one of the heads on using the old head bolts to clay the motor, figure out how much clearances we have. And then once we get that figured out, make sure we got enough clearance, then we'll take it apart, put the new head gasket on, and put the new head bolts in. We just had these heads freshened up. We got new guides, new springs, new valves. Okay, and then we got to put the lifters in on that side, or at least these front two. And then we need to grab the rockers, put the rockers on. With these poly locks, basically you got, well, it's a different size wrench than what we used to use, but you got these poly locks, and you turn the outside with the wrench, and then you use the Allen head. Once you get it in the right spot, you just basically tighten that down, and that sets basically your valve lash. And so we're going to set our valve lash on these two, and then crank the motor over one full rotation, and then back everything off, take it all back off, and check to see how much clearance we have. So on these, we set the intake to 14 thousandths and the exhaust to 16 thousandths of lash. Basically how we set these is EOIC exhaust. When the exhaust starts opening, you can set the intake. When the intake starts closing, you can set the exhaust. So we just got them finger tight. There's a little bit of play in this one. There's not in this one because this wasn't all the way down yet. So go ahead and turn it normal way with rotation. Okay, so now that's starting to close. So now we can set this one. So your intakes, when your intake is closing, you can set your exhaust. So the exhaust we're going to set at 16 thousandths. So we're going to take out our feeler gauge. And basically the reason you set the exhaust when the intake's closing is because then you know that the exhaust is at the bottom of the lobe circle on the cam. It's a little too tight. That's about right. If you guys look at this, basically when you put it in, there should be kind of a rolling resistance, but it shouldn't fight, and it shouldn't, if you put it in there, it's probably just a hair too loose. If you put it in there and you can lift up on this and it doesn't roll the roller, then you know it's too loose. But you don't want to have to really push it in, but you just want a little bit of pressure and it kind of rolls. So tighten up just a hair. Right about there. Yep. Okay, so the lash is set on that one. Now we need to set the intake at 14. So we're going to turn the motor over, and we're going to watch for the exhaust to start opening. So that just finished closing. Now the exhaust started opening. That's good.
Do you back up?
Just a little bit. Okay. We're gonna set the intake at 14. So once you get the set on the outside, then you just tighten down the center to get your lash set. So there's that. Both those are set. Now we're gonna crank it around, full rotation on the crank. At least 1, 2 or 3 is fine too. Actually, you want to go 2 rotations on the crank to get the full cycle. That one, the exhaust open and closed. So we should be, once they both go down, we'll take it off. Okay, there's that, and now we can take it apart. It's kind of a repetitive process, but it will save you lots of money when your motor doesn't bend valves and blow things apart. And take my word for it. I've done it multiple times.
Emphasis on multiple.
We're going to take this head back off and see how much clearance we have in the clay. So now we're going to get this off of here and we're going to measure how thick it is. And that tells you exactly how much clearance you have. So I'm not so much worried about piston to head clearance as I am valve clearance, because with the clay not being smashed completely, we know there's plenty of clearance. Looks like we got about 0.16 clearance on the intake valve. Exhaust valve, about 0.17. So we got decent amount of clearance. About, well, a little over 1/8 of an inch on each one. So should be good there. So now we got that done, we're going to put both heads on. We're going to put new gaskets. We got new head bolts. And once we get both heads on, we're going to put all the push rods in. Put the rocker arms on. Set the valve lash. And we're going to put poly locks on. We're going to set the valve lash. Now when you guys are putting your head gaskets on, like these Felpro 1003s that I have, they actually say up right there on the left side of the, would be right above what, number 3 cylinder, and then again above number 6. So make sure when you're putting your gaskets on that you got them the right way. And then if you have the alignment pins, you should just be able to push them down on the alignment pins. We're missing a pin on this one and we don't have one, so we're just going to put it together the way it is. Make sure everything's lined up good and tighten it down. Now with these ARP bolts, they have assembly lube that you put on the little bit on the end of each bolt, or on the threads of each bolt, and that just helps seal them in. So when you guys are putting these in, there's a chamfered side of the washer and then there's a flat side. The chamfered side has to go towards the head of the bolt, and basically that's just to help clear it when it's under pressure. So it's not seizing and binding up and you're getting unrealistic torque numbers. And then ARP recommends torquing these down to 70 foot-pounds. GM recommends 65 because these are ARP bolts. We want to go with their recommendation, so we're going to 70 foot-pounds when we torque them on this time. And they recommend 3 steps. So we'll start at 30, go to 55, and then go to 70. So there you guys have it. We got the heads bolted on. I know the camera died, but we dropped the lifters in and got the rockers set on there. Just kind of finger tightened them. So we still got to set the valve lash. We'll pick up there in the next video. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you guys learn anything or you want to follow along with all our future videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It helps me continue to make more videos. As always, we have links to our Facebook, Instagram, and all our partner links down in the description below. Make sure to check all those out if you haven't already. I also have links to parts and tools and stuff that I used in this video, so you guys pretty much know exactly what's in my motor for the most part. Those are all down in the description below as well. So make sure to check all that out if you haven't already. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next video.